Hey, it's good to see you here online. I'm Kimmy. Here I will share with you, together with my partner Robin, our thoughts and some theory related when we are translating the song Puppet Show by HG, 人间浪费指南 by 夏日入侵企划 and 圈养玫瑰 by 暴躁的兔子. According to this article, Choices in Song Translation by Johan Franzen, there are 5 ways of translating a song. The first one is just not to translate. For example, when there is a song existed in a movie or a TV show, the translator has already translated the spoken dialogue. He or she may think that it is unnecessary to translate the song, or there is a lack of time causing him unable to translate, so he decides to leave the song untranslated. The second idea is to translate without taking account of the music. Just imagine that you are entering a theater for a musical. There will usually be a brochure on the seat, giving you some idea of the show. Then the translated version of the song should have appeared on the brochure. But the actors and actresses are not going to sing out the translated version. Instead, they will stick to the original one. The translated version is just for your reference. For this translation on the brochure, the translator need not to take the original music into account. He just needs to make sense of the lyrics clear to the audience, so that when this audience are enjoying the music in a language that they are not familiar with, they can still understand the meaning the show and its music trying to bring out. The third is to write new lyrics, but this lyrics here has not much relation to the original one. This approach is commonly seen when a song becomes a global hit. People would like to reproduce a song in another language, so that the focus is only on the music. They leave the original lyrics behind and write a complete new set of lyrics. The fourth is to adapt the music to the translated lyrics. This strategy is usually used when the lyrics are regarded as more important than the music. The idea of the original lyrics must be spread to these people who do not speak the source language, and the fidelity of the translation is very much emphasized. And when the newly produced lyrics cannot completely fit into the original music, the melody will be modified so that these new lyrics can be sung out. This is commonly done when people are translating hymns to be sung in the church. The fifth and final approach is to adapt the translation to the original music. This is usually the case with professional assignments, which the music cannot be changed, and the idea of the original lyrics have to be expressed to a context that this new lyrics is functionally equivalent to the original one. Here I use the example given in the article, the song Show Me from the musical My Fair Lady, to give you some idea of the fifth approach. This left one here is the English source text, and is translated into Swedish, Norwegian, German, and Finnish. For better understanding, the author provided the back translation of the target text. You can see that in English, it is Don't Talk of Stars here, and in Swedish and German, the star is changed to the moon. You may also realize that for all of these translated versions, none of them translated every single idea of the source text. Only these bold ones here are counted as one-to-one correspondence, because every single language has its own syntax, morphology, phonology, etc. And if you translate the lyrics, by the way you translate it as a plain text, it wouldn't work and the lyrics wouldn't be singable. In order to preserve its musicality and singability, the translator had to alter these translations so that the lyrics give enough information to the musical to continue to the next scene. But at the same time, the translator also have to be very careful so that there will not be any elements appearing on the target text that can make the audience feel strange and weird. And after giving a brief introduction to these 5 choices, let's talk about how we choose our approaches. Because for our class performance, we must produce singable lyrics, and choosing the first 2 here will not produce a singable text, so that these first 2 approaches are not feasible. Then we make our choices from the bottom 3 approaches. Then, because of this paper published by Professor Harry, it states that translators should choose how many times and efforts they have to devote into a translation according to its disposability. If this text is for one-time use only, for example, a paper on a bench warning people of wet paint, then this text is of high disposability, then you should devote less time and effort. Our translation project, however, is not disposable, because Professor Lee has mentioned that in the beginning of the semester, this song we translated will be posted online, and what we need to do must be a singable translation, and the quality needs to be good. Therefore, between the bottom three choices, we chose number 5, adaptation of the translation to the original music, instead of number 3, writing new lyrics which has no relation to the original, because we have to bring the idea of the original lyrics to our classmates. And luckily, since Professor Lee announced this project at the beginning of the semester, we can have enough time to tackle the translation because this approach number 5 is very time consuming. And of course, there are always limitations we discover when doing the translation. There will be words that cannot fit into the original melody and rhythm. So a small amount of number 4, adaptation of the music to the translated lyrics, is also adopted. For this project, I chose the song Puppet Show by XG, translated it from English to Cantonese, and the Cantonese version is 傀儡乌托邦. Let's have a look at the overall planning of my translation. The song Puppet Show wants to bring out the idea that now man as a voice controlling the world is no longer working. Women will make it the opposite way and be in control. It's kind of putting the whole thing into a man versus woman situation. When I was analyzing the source text, I was thinking, is this really something good to spread to the world? So I altered my translation. I want to present an ending which men and women fight together for a revolution. And I do it by changing the chorus. In the source text, the chorus is always the same. The lyrics is "Welcome to the puppet show," and when you got them by a string, it's repeated for 3 times. In my translation, for the first chorus, I try my best to stick to the meaning of the source text to showcase how the puppet is being manipulated. For the second chorus, I make 2 changes in order to form a smoother transition to the original, to the ending that I want. And then the song reaches its bridge. Suddenly, a leading figure pops out, bringing the puppet hope and guiding the way. And they finally end with having their revolution and fight, which is the content of the third chorus. Now, we put emphasis on the analysis of the first chorus, the chorus that I tried best to stick with the original meaning. Here, I've added the international phonetic alphabets copied from the Oxford English Dictionary. And this transcription of the Chinese character is from the Chinese character database with word formation phonologically disambiguated according to the Cantonese dialect. In Chinese, it is 粤语省音配词字库. It's made by the Chinese University of Hong Kong. You can see here from the English lyrics, the third and the fourth line is anything and string is rhyme. And for the fifth and the sixth line, there are toys and joints is again rhyme. And for the last 2 is again end with anything and string and also rhyme. So the rhyme scheme is kind of like AABB. For my translation, I also try to stick with this AABB pattern. The first 2 lines ends with loi and doi in Cantonese, and the second 2, and the next 2 ends with ming and ding. And then the coming 2 ends with log and nong, which have the same initial consonant. And the final 2 ends with sung and sun, which have also the same initial consonant. Now I've made the one-to-one correspondence in bold. You can see that there seems to be a lot of bold text in the English, but there seems to be a lot less in the Chinese one. This is because the English lyrics have been repeating. You can see that here anything, 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 and here anything again for 4 times, and here string, string, string for 3 times. And also here play them, and got them, also always repeating. The reason that English lyrics can have so much repetition is that because English is a non-tonal language. It means that no matter the voice is high or low, the meaning of the song remains the same. The meaning of the word remains the same. In this case, the same wording can fit into different melody, but the Cantonese as a tonal language has 6 tones. So there is a lot of consideration needed when producing a Cantonese lyrics. Let's take the lyrics. They do anything, anything, anything here as an example. You see I translated into 甘心所有事情都擔上都挺明. Can you make and you can see that and here they do I translated into 甘心 anything into 所有事情 Then you might ask, anything is 3 syllables. Why you translate it into 所有事情 with 4 syllables? Because the melody goes like anything. So if you have a music sheet for the song, it should clearly show that there is 4 music notes for anything. And you squeeze 所有事 into anything, it will sound like 所有事, which is also acceptable in this context, but still it's 4 syllables. Since this melody is meant to be 4 syllables, I choose to stick with 所有事情 because the overall flow with this wording is better. I also like to highlight that I construct the Cantonese target text for the rap part here in the spoken way of Cantonese, while the remaining parts that I show of the lyrics are written in written Cantonese. If any of you here are familiar with Cantonese, will know that it's very different how people speak in their normal living scenario versus how they write a text. There is also one point here I'm very curious about the source text. This Atari here. How many of you here know what this Atari is about? Well, I personally don't know what this is, so I researched about it and translated it into something that I think is more familiar with you guys, which is this e-boy here. This e-boy is the way how children growing up speaking Cantonese call this Pokemon. I hope by making this change, you all can understand it better and have more relation to the target text. So that's pretty much all of my sharing. Actually, I have much more to say and to share with you all, but the time is running out already, so I'll give the stage to my partner Robin. And if you have anything to discuss with me, we can talk in class, or you can send me an email by my email address here. So I'll give the stage to Robin.
Based on the translation principles and skills my partner has mentioned, I have translated 4 Chinese songs into English. Due to the time limit, I'm going to analyze 2 of them. The first one is 人间浪费指南, the Handbook of Life Wasting. This song expresses the longing for freedom and escape from the monotonous and burdensome aspects of life, urging the listeners to break free and seek a more fulfilling and adventurous existence. The linguistic features of this song contain mainly 3 parts: repetition, colloquial expressions, and informal tone. Repetition is for stressing the theme, which is longing for the freedom and pursuing for your own dream. And both informal tone and colloquial expressions could help the listeners to feel more connected or closer to the original lines and make the song feel more like down to earth. Then let's see some stylistic features of the song. It includes parallelism, imaginary symbolism, rhyme, emotive language, and poetic elements. Due to the time limit, I'm going to elaborate the parallelism, symbolism, and emotive language. For the other, I've laid out some examples on the screen so you can feel it yourself. So for the parallelism, the words 你已经想了太久，可还是不想放手 has been repeated in this song for 4 times to create a balanced and rhythmic effect and a stress to the theme, just like the repetitive feature I've mentioned the last slides. And then the symbolism. The reference to freedom and the future carries symbolic meaning, representing the longing for a more fulfilling and meaningful life beyond the mundane. Emotive language includes 深夜的胡思乱想总导致失眠. This could help the listener to feel exactly the same when they are listening to the song late at night, and it can evoke emotions and create a vivid emotional experience for the readers and listeners. Now let's see some specific translation issues in this song. Due to time limit, I would love to explain all of them to you, but now I can only narrow it down to 2 examples, that is cultural specific terms. Because China has more than 1.5 billion people, so the working place is quite competitive for most of us. We can feel the pressure and all the stress come from work all the day, which is rarely seen in the Western culture. So here 打卡格子间, or even after work you cannot say goodbye to your colleagues. This is our all Chinese culture characteristic. So I try to be loyal here, to be more close to the source text. Hopefully the Western English speakers can understand. Now we come to my second translation, 圈养玫瑰, which I turned it into the rose kept in a garden. Because 圈养 in Chinese, it's more like keeping a pet or animals in your own place. So it's not wild, it's the opposite to wild. It is correspondent in English is keep something, keep a pet or something. So this song portrays the emotional struggle and regrets of keeping a beautiful but wounded love, hidden and confined, while longing for forgiveness and cherishing the moments of vulnerability and protection shared with that person. Here are some linguistic features of the song. They are mainly repetition, symbolism, metaphor, personifications. So for repetition, the main line is 我永远忘不掉你奔向我. And then there is a slight change of this line, 我永远忘不掉你流着泪. Both of this is a repetition that is stressing the main theme of the song. And then symbolism. The rose is symbolically used to represent love, growth, and vulnerability. For metaphor, the text contains several metaphors such as the moon is blushing, like a flame almost broken inside. Metaphors are used to create vivid imaginary and convey emotions. Then the personification. The road is personified throughout the text, with phrases like the road is showing and the road is growing. Personification attributes human qualities or actions to non-human entitles. Just like the last one, this song also exhibits some stylistic features such as poetic language, emotional tone, symbolism, repetition, contrast, and ambiguity. The most important one, or obvious one, is the poetic language, because this one is a romantic song, while the last one is rock and roll. So the lines from the Handbook of Life Wasting is much more simple and straightforward, while this one is much more ambiguous and romantic as well as poetic. And I've laid out all these 6 aspects, examples, and meanings and effects on screen. And due to time limit, I'm not going to elaborate into every one. Due to this song's poetic feature, the translation issues lies in mainly transcreation and singability. Like this one, 不愿怜惜你的执着. At the beginning, I just translated loyally as couldn't appreciate your obsession, but there are too many syllables to sing and it's quite mouthful. So then I changed it into wouldn't see through you as an angel. But as I combine it with the last line, forgive me wouldn't see through you as an angel, there is another problem pop up. That is grammatically, it's wrong. In English, we should say forgive somebody for something or forgive somebody that something. So then I change it into forgive me for only seeing you as an angel. So this is an important part when translating Chinese songs into English, that grammar is needed to include. And then there is illusion. What should we do if we come into illusion issues? The source tag is 南京锁. I haven't heard of it before, so I look it up online. It is a lock that is very heavy, so someone put it on their neck, and the key is held in their lever. In this way, this is a token for love and for loyalty. And here is the definition on Google. Nancy Law is something blah blah blah, and the story behind it blah blah blah. But most of all, I got very lucky, for this term is originated in the English culture. But what should I do if I run into something really originating from Chinese culture that has not been translated before? So that is something we should all think about. And then there is a very important part when we translate Chinese song into English. We will meet many 4-character idioms. In this song 圈养玫瑰 there are 人声鼎沸不知廉耻自投罗网不知所措等等 etc. And then from the last song 人间浪费指南 there are also 4-character idioms. What should we do about this? And vice versa. What should we do when we translate English song into Chinese? That is something we can learn from. So the overall solution is to translate it freely or to recreate the new lines. Okay, to sum up, what makes a good translated version song that could be performed on a stage? Most importantly, translators should have a bilingual proficiency, and then there is poetic adaptation, musicality and rhyme, creative expression, collaboration with musicians, and cultural sensitivity. We can dive into each part. First of all, bilingual proficiency. That is a deep understanding of both languages, which is essential to accurately convey the meaning, emotions, and nuances of the original lyrics, while ensuring coherence in the translated version. And then, the poetic adaptation is also very important, because all kinds of songs will contain poetic elements like metaphors, symbolism, and wordplay. The translator needs to possess this skill to preserve the lyrical and poetic quality of the original lyrics while adapting them to fit the English language's poetic conventions. After that, I believe the musicality and rhyme is very important too, because translating songs involve maintaining the rhythmic flow and musicality of the lyrics. The translator must consider the syllable count, stress, and rhyming patterns to create a translation that can be effectively sung or performed. And then the creative expression is effective translation of songs. All kinds of songs will need some creative, after all, it's kind of creation. And then collaboration with musicians. That is not a must, but if you are going to do that, you need to consider the translated lyrics, fitted melodies, rhymes, and overall musical composition of the song. The last but not least, cultural sensitivity. Translating songs involves capturing the cultural context, references, and idiomatic expressions unique to the source culture and finding suitable equivalents or explanations in the target language that resonate with the target audience. Overall, translating songs required a combination of linguistic skills, cultural understanding, creativity, and collaboration to convey the original meaning, emotions, and artistic elements of the song effectively.